Welcome to episode 3 of Finding Your Personal Magic. This is Everything We Do is Magic. It's an ongoing series we have trying to demystify the whole world of magic and break it down into bite-sizable parts for you to show what you can do. And we've talked in this series about finding your own magic, not the magic that's confirmed by others, not the magic that is in duplicate of others, not the magic that repeats what others do, but your own personal magic, your individuated expression of the divine whole. And so we continue with that today, talking about the magic of the mind. The screenshot that marks this series, Everything We Do is Magic, shows me touching my finger to my nose. And that's significant because that is magic. Every thought we have, everything we create, everything we do is first preceded by a thought or an idea. Follows on the Kabbalion principle, the first principle of the Kabbalion, that all is mental. Everything is an idea. Everything is thought. So with that in mind, our brain tries to act as the executive, as the runner of things. The problem is the brain has no input of its own. I mean, we get input from our sensory perception, but again, that's an external being translated to an internal. And again, take for instance something like color. Like the color blue, we were just talking about this at the market, how the color blue was relatively late to come to language and to become to art and things like that. And it's because there was a perception of that color, but we had to come to a universal understanding so that we could communicate that color. And so there's a necessity there for us to take in the information and to deal with it, to dissimulate it, to put it together in an understandable means for us. But it is still outside information. Hence the meditative practice of whose thought is that? Because what happens is most of, probably 99.9% of the thoughts that emanate from our brain are other people's thoughts. And we talked about this again, but I can't hammer this in enough that it's not your thought. If you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm fat, that's not your thought. That's not something that you would say about yourself unless someone else had taught you that, had put that in you. The same thing, I give the example of racism. People aren't born racist. It's a learned thing. So what happens is we end up operating in our mind magic out of other people's ideas. And again, as I said when I introduced this, there's nothing wrong with working off others' ideas. It's just that when you take someone's idea at face value, you're taking the encapsulated version of all of their feelings and emotions and perceptions around that particular thing. Neil Boortz, libertarian radio host, used to say, never believe anything I say unless you confirm it yourself, unless you positively know it to be true yourself. And that is essentially what I'm saying here, is that unless your perception matches up, then it's not a true thought for you. It's not your mind. But also that brain responds to things that happen. I was giving an example of an event that happened to me when I was in grammar school. We were given the option, and this is second grade now. This is 1968 or so. Yeah, I'm that old. But where I was given the opportunity to opt out of the Pledge of Allegiance and the morning prayer. It was during the time when there was a bunch of stuff going on about prayer in schools and everything. So the ruling was that students could opt out. Well, I decided, being the kind of rambunctious rapscallion that I am, I stepped out into the hallway, and I was immediately followed by a curly-haired teacher's assistant who bullied me back into the classroom. Now that wasn't enough. I mean, that kind of registered in my monkey brain, that in that primitive brain, that I couldn't trust authority figures to mean what they say. But then when I came home and I told my parents, they sided with the teachers, which again, somewhere deep inside put an idea that I couldn't completely trust what my parents were saying. Now again, right or wrong, good or bad, they were coming from their perspective. They weren't seeing my perspective. And so there was an emotional attachment there. So I am constantly trying to push that perspective down. Well, that is part of my magic, is being an anarchist, an agorist, flowing against the stream. That's part of everyone's magic. But everything around us, the whole social system, the education system, all of this is geared towards caging in that mind of ours to compliance and to a certain set of rules and a certain set of values. And we even do that subconsciously by social pressure. If someone doesn't do a certain thing, doesn't act a certain way, we exclude them from our social circle. And that comes from this whole concept of needing others to fulfill ourselves. And that, I guess, is the key that I'll close with to mastering the mind magic, is that you learn, again, it goes back to love. You learn to love yourself, exactly who you are, exactly where you are, exactly what you are, exactly how you think, feel, express yourself. All of these things are uniquely you. There's no other person in the universe that can duplicate or replicate that. You are that one spot, and we need you. We need you to be that one spot. We don't need you to be a mimic of someone else. Now, so what does that do with mind magic? How do you start doing mind magic? You change your thoughts. If you change your thoughts, you will change your current situation. You will change your present. And in changing your present, you will change your past. The Bible says we are to take every thought captive to the true knowledge of God. Now, see, the guys that rewrote all this stuff, they twisted that around to make it kind of a religious thing. But I'm telling you, that's an esoteric message. It says we are to take every thought captive to who we truly are. Because if you've seen any of my introduction to chaos magic stuff, you know about the whole idea of the hologram, and how every piece of the hologram, no matter how small, contains the entire hologram in it, which flows with the tree of life as well. So every bit of us, even the tiniest portion of us, contains the divine. So it contains the entire divine. So we are God. So when it says, as a man thinks in his heart, so he is, that we are to take every thought captive to our true nature. And that is the beginning of mind magic, is to beginning to understand who and what you really are. Now, next week we'll start talking about overcoming the body magic, because we're not souls, loose souls here. What we are is we are spiritual beings who are occupying and experiencing things through a physical body. This is totally a means of perception for us. And so next week we'll enter into how to change even the perceptions within our body. I did it myself, which when I lost the weight, I lost about 100 pounds in a little over 4 months, I think it was, 4 or 5 months. Not 100 pounds, 60 pounds in 4 or 5 months. Don't want to mislead you. And the first thing I did was changing my mind. So I want to leave you with this today. Begin by changing your mind, beginning by taking every thought captive. Because again, as the Bible says, that grimoire, I call it, says, as a man thinks in his heart, as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. Whatever you think will be your reality. Your body will perceive that as reality, because your body is taught to respond to the executive. That wraps up this week's episode of Everything We Do is Magic, Finding Your Magic. Make sure you like us and subscribe. That way you'll get this delivered to your inbox and notifications that we're on. Because next week we'll begin talking about the magic of the body and how to use your mind to transform your body. See you then. Namaste.